Academia Chapter 385 is finally here, and it's titled Young Impulses. And thank you to Rukasu Dabi's Pole Dance Injustice for getting the leaks out, and let's get right into it. We see a page of a giant dust cloud in the middle of it coming from the massive attack that everyone did on All for One, sending trees and rubble flying everywhere across the battlefield into areas nearby. And the chapter begins with that and a map of the Gunga battle, showing everyone who's fighting in the army of Twices and their location. Mount Lady's weapon breaks, and Yui throws another at her, saying that it's a Detonera item that was laying on the ground, and she made it bigger with her quirk. And whereas before Mount Lady had like a giant rocket-powered Naginata or something, this time instead she has like a multi kind of layered, I don't really know, it's some sort of spiked whip or something. I'm not entirely sure what it is. It might even be like a sort of like Renji sword. If you remember Renji from Bleach, he has that multi-layered sword. It's kind of something like that, but she's ready to swing it down on All for One, as on the same page we see Tokoyami getting ready to take another punch. Now, despite the fact that both her and Tokoyami are panting, they go for another attack anyway, but Hawks apologizes to Tokoyami for only being there as support. However, Tokoyami says that his support is making Dark Shadow Balder stronger, and this is likely because Hawks is holding on to Tokoyami, or I guess Tokoyami is holding on to Hawks, and that's probably why Dark Shadow has those massive wings that he has. So it's kind of like Hawks is really good at giving support with his wings, because he did the exact same thing to Endeavor in the manga and the anime during that fight, and it just seems like he really likes giving his wings away. Remember that. As we see Tokoyami about to land this massive punch, as Mount Lady is also about to slam something down onto All for One, we see multiple pillars and twisters of air crashing down into the location that All for One apparently is, but something suddenly is wrong. Out of nowhere, from the crater where All for One is apparently laying, getting attacked, something comes out and pierces right into Mount Lady, lifting her straight up into the air and apparently doing some damage to her stomach. Mount Lady falls to the ground after getting knocked in the air and instantly taken out by this one attack, and on the page we see Hawks and Mineta giving their
At Rush Order Tees, we love to help you get your shirt together with high-quality
I hate these commercials.
Just so you know, that's not all
reaction, but everyone again screams her name out because this is a very, very big person to be taken out in just one blow. But that's not where the hits stop here, because we see Makia's reaction to Mount Lady getting knocked out in the distance, and below Makia, the ground starts to crack at his feet in a path from the crater over to him, and this is where we see that Makia actually gets hit by a large laser beam that comes up from out of the ground, as we see All for One's arm on the page completely missing almost all of its muscle fibers, as apparently All for One is getting nearly down to the bone. But regardless, desperate times call for desperate measures, so All for One uses his laser beam to cut right up the side of Gigantomachia and actually manages to pierce his skin, causing the massive monster to start bleeding. And just like that, with another one-hit maneuver, another massive force for the heroes is taken out of the fight. All for One is extremely injured like we just mentioned a moment ago, but despite that, thanks to Ares Rewind, he continues to heal. And he says that the younger that he gets, the harder it is for him to contain his dark urges. We then see All for One rising out of the pit in the ground that he was just in, and as he's floating into the air, we get a good look at him as he prepares another attack towards Dark Shadow, and All for One is literally just a floating torso. Like, his legs literally have to rewind and heal back because he doesn't have them. It's kind of just a floating pelvis bone and leg bone. He's really in the worst state that we've seen any character in so far in the entire series of My Hero Academia, with Rukasu even letting us know that he looks worse than Shigaraki after being hit by the USA bombs and everything that Star and Stripes had to offer. So they really did do some amazing damage to All for One here, and it is really, really awesome how much they were able to do together as a unit. But All for One, like I was saying in my chapter predictions, finally had enough, and it was time for him to stop playing around. All for One raises his still rewinding arm up as a big ball of electricity kind of forms in his hand, and we see energy beginning to shoot out the back of his arm as the big ball of his hand shoots forward in another laser-like attack that completely destroys Dark Shadow. The issue is, though, this technique was extremely powerful, and All for One wasn't just aiming randomly into Dark Shadow. Actually, the technique hits Hawks and Tokoyami really, really hard, but Hawks protects Tokoyami and gets even more injured because of it. All for One is rather impressed with the strength of his own attacks, taking out
he ain't holding back anymore.
Just one hit, and he says, "Oh, how good it is to be young." And as Kirishima and Shinso worry about what's happening of Hawks and Tokoyami, who get absolutely blown away by this technique by All for One, Inasa tells everyone to focus and just keep attacking All for One, and now is their time. However, Everything here is just useless because the next page cuts to a black panel and we see that All For One has actually already defeated everyone on this battlefield. And as the rain is coming down and lightning begins to strike, we see that All For One is the youngest that we've ever seen him before, maybe like an 18-year-old All For One, or possibly even somewhere around Hawks' age.
This guy's
he
a
looks actually
maniac.
very similar to Hawks in this chapter. We actually see All For One holding Hawks in the air by his neck, with Tokoyami laying on the ground beside him. And in this moment, we're actually picking up on a conversation that it seems like All For One and Hawks were having now that everyone is defeated. It seems like All For One was walking his way over to Tokoyami, but Hawks, even as defeated as he currently is, got in his way and now he's in All For One's hands. All For One says he wants to steal Tokoyami's quirk and that Hawks should get out of the way because he's done too much already. We see though that even now, Hawks still hasn't given up. He pierces All For One in the chest with his sword, trying to take him out that way, but it doesn't do anything because again, All For One is still rewinding. All For One says that it's impressive how Hawks has kept fighting so far.
Are you kidding
where
me?
we see that while All For One is grabbing Hawks, he's actually stealing his quirk. So now Hawks is actually going to be quirkless since
That's
he's
not
having his
good.
quirk stolen by All For One, and that really means that they absolutely
That is
did
not
fail
good.
here, because now All For One has a proper quirk that can actually let him fly over to Shigaraki and Deku's location.
Are you
All For One
serious?
says that he's impressed that Hawks has kept fighting even with so little of his quirk factor left, and Hawks then angrily comments on how very unfair it is that the number of quirks that All For One has doesn't decrease even though his body is rewinding. And I do think this is a little bit of foreshadowing because we know that Hawks is very smart to something that we could see in the future actually being a weakness for All For One. It's at this moment where everything seems truly lost and All For One is about to just toss Hawks aside and walk over to Tokoyami and steal his quirk, where a small thing happens that could potentially have changed everything in this battle. Mineta throws one of his Mineta grapes at All For One and it attaches onto the back of his leg and doesn't keep him there on the ground or anything, but it is stuck to his pants, and I'm wondering if this is something from Horikoshi that is going to end up adding up in the end. Like, what if All For One only loses because of this Mineta pop-off ball that Horikoshi showed us being put there? I feel like that's kind of just the writing style that Horikoshi's had in this final half, so let's see how that goes. Mineta says that stealing Dark Shadow is only going to make All For One an edgy weirdo like Tokoyami, so it would be better for him to steal a quirk like Mineta's pop-off quirk. All For One then kind of just stares into Mineta's teary eyes as scared as he is, and he recognizes that look in Mineta's eyes from Jiro, who's another weakling who's probably scattered on this battlefield now. All For One then thinks to himself that he can't possibly waste another second here, and he actually throws Hawks down on the ground and flies off, saving Tokoyami from having his quirk stolen. So I guess Mineta did actually accomplish something because it seems like he saved Tokoyami. As All For One is flying off, he sees the press helicopters are nearby, and he mocks the heroes on the cameras by saying that everyone will see this pathetic view once again, that they'll see that they actually couldn't protect anything all this time. It's here where we cut to the underground shelters in UA, and the civilians are wondering why they've stopped moving. Natsuo prepares to protect Fuyumi and his mother, and the young students that Shoto and the others had to take care of for a little while are also there, watching the Gunga fight
This is just
on a
getting
tablet.
insane
The
for me
civilians are
to
losing
hear
hope
from
because
this
of the
guy.
situation, as they see that the heroes are
Especially
actually
this
being cornered.
chapter.
And here we cut to the command room, and Tsukauchi and Labrava are both confused because Labrava has already regained control of the system with some blocks already moving again, but some seem to still be locked from the inside for some reason. Tajima, one of the spies that we've seen on All For One side before, mixed into the civilian that the leakers pointed out looks just like Ego Jinpachi from Blue Lock, which is very true, gets really desperate because he doesn't have any orders from Skeptic right now, even though All For One told him that's who he's supposed to be following. So in this situation, the spy actually starts using his quirk, but he gets caught by Gunhead. However, it's too late and some parts of the ceiling start to fall on the civilians, and we see that Kendo and Tetsu are in charge of protecting everyone, and as they try to block the ceiling from hitting anyone, Death Arms gets there first and protects the two civilians. Now, if you remember, Death Arms is one of the first heroes that we saw in the series, and he says that he knows what awaits him is a thorny path, and that's why he gave up. But seeing the other heroes continue to fight, his body moved on its own. He starts to cry as he remembers Deku running to save Bakugo from the sludge villain, and realizing that he's only now catching up to the Deku from back then as Deku fights to save the rest of Japan, really just reinforcing how Deku is doing his I am here moment right now, and everyone is watching. On the last page, we get a little bit of a POV change, and in command Kamino, Shoto is leaning on Ida and says that this is not over yet. Despite the fact that Shoto looks completely gassed, we know that Ida actually hasn't really done anything yet, so I wonder if he is going to get a bigger role in this final war arc, and it seems like that is likely to be the case, as on the building next to them is none other than Stain, who's looking over at Ida and Shoto in Kamino, and I wonder how he's going to get involved.
This is surprising
to
see.
Sword, looking at the two who took him down all the way back in Stain's arc. So that's everything that happened in this chapter of My Hero Academia. You can go watch my chapter 385 prediction.
Wait. Okay. Although I'm a little disappointed that All For One just took Hawk's Quirk and left Tokiyami and Hawk's, damaged and just worn out, and the fact that he's leaving with these wings he has. But as far as this, whoever thought Stain would actually be working with the heroes? It just doesn't make any sense. He's a villain. Why would he be working with the heroes? It's so weird. Out for revenge, maybe? Who knows? I guess he's just doing it for his own sake, or probably for the hero's sake. Who knows? But so that's the end of chapter 385, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to say it, but Hawks is completely quirkless. I don't know how he's going to get his quirk back. Maybe he might get it back once All For One's defeated. Pretty soon he will be defeated eventually because he's run out of time because he doesn't have any legs. He doesn't have any... Well, he has hands. He doesn't have any legs. So. Yeah, after all that hard work, I really thought the heroes had some high hopes to defeat All For One, but now things have just got worse now. Worse. Well, guess I'll just have to find out what happens in the next chapter. Guess we'll have to wait for a few weeks, I guess. Yeah. My mind's just completely blown right now. Still haven't even got updates between Midoriya and Shigaraki, but I think we'll probably get to that sooner or later, so hope it's not lost for the heroes, but I'm pretty sure they're going to probably turn things around. Yeah. So, that's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.